Hello, it's Max from Isolation Game, and today we are covering connectors and physics from Dreams Workshop. But before we start, I want to mention something special that happened to me today. A user named Speeders, Speeders, probably he reads this way, sent his work chill borders, and I was amazed by it. Really, it's so wonderful. I really like Oli Oli series, and this one resembles it. You play as a snowboarder, and whoa, it feels so smooth. I love the art style and the overall feel. I just recommend you all to check it out and get the fastest speed in your life with this amazing creation. I will definitely comment on this and share it with my friends. Not always I see such a wonderful game, such wonderfully thought out game like this. So please go check this out. And now we return to connectors and physics. Yes? I guess it was somewhere around here. Now sound design. Yeah, connectors and physics. Let's dive in.
This tutorial is all about connectors. Something Cuthbert hasn't quite got the hang of. Connectors join objects together in a way that lets them move. We're going to use them to help Connie get to Cuthbert. First things first though, we need to be precise when using connectors, so let's turn on the grid snap guide. That way, everything will line up properly. So, go to the assembly menu and open the guides section. Now select the grid icon with the X button. Now that grid snap is on, any objects you move and tools you use will snap in line with the grid in the scene. You can adjust how fine the grid is using the plus and minus icons on the button. But for this tutorial, it's best if you leave the grid size at 1. Now, let's see how we can make our way to Cuthbert. The best way to find out what needs to be connected is to play the scene and see for ourselves. But instead of switching over to play mode, we can start
Not a play mode.
time in edit mode by clicking R3. Aha! Well, this is odd. The bridge has fallen down, but the second platform is still floating in place. Why is one object floating while the other is falling? Click L3 to rewind time. Let's check the bridge's tweak menu. Remember, tweak menus allow us to see and change the settings for objects in edit mode. Hover your imp over the bridge, hold L1 and press the square button to open its tweak menu. Tweak menus differ depending on what sort of object you're tweaking. The bridge is a sculpture. Sculptures are pretty complex things, and their tweak menus have lots of pages. To switch pages, use your imp to select the different tabs at the top. Maybe we'll find something on the physical properties page to tell us why the bridge is falling down. Its icon is a Newton's cradle, like one of those desk ornaments where the metal balls bash into each other. Select it with X. This page contains the sculpture's physical properties and attributes. There are lots of buttons and sliders here, but the one we're interested in is the top one. Aha! I thought so. Someone's gone and switched on the movable option. Okay, I admit it. It was me. Well, it wouldn't be much of an adventure if Connie could just stroll across the bridge, would it? Making something movable means it becomes physical. That means that forces in the scene, like collisions, the imp, or in this case gravity, can move it. Luckily, we can stop the bridge from falling down by adding a connector to it, which is exactly what we'll do in the next step, once you're ready to move on. So, all we need to keep the bridge from falling is a piece of string. Not just any piece of string though, it's what we in the dream shaping business call a string connector. We'll need to attach the other end to something unmovable, like the blue cylinder above the bridge. Start by moving your imp with the left and right sticks, until you can see the top of the bridge and the bottom of the blue cylinder. Make sure time is rewound. Click L3 if it isn't. Now open the Assembly menu and select the 3 connected squares to open the Gadgets menu. Look for the button with the joint icon, which will take you to the Connectors sub-menu. You can move the menu with your imp by grabbing it with R2. Select the String button. Its icon is the 2 circles connected by a wavy line. You'll see that a string connector appears on the tip of your imp. Now let's get connecting. You should always make the first connection from the object that won't move. We call this the parent object. In this case, it's the blue cylinder, but it could be something else, like the frame of a door. See the yellow dot on the cylinder? I put that there to show the best place for a connection. So hover over it and press R2 or X to connect the string. The grid snap guide will help you line it up exactly with the yellow spot. When you move your imp now, you'll notice it's tethered to the cylinder. It also has a blue gizmo on the end of it. Now let's stretch that string down to the bridge, all the way to the blue dot. The blue gizmo connects the string to the movable object, which we call the child object. Hover over the blue dot. See how the grid snaps it into line? Let's connect the string there with R2 or X. If your bridge isn't in line, just make sure that time is rewound. Now that the blue gizmo is connected, you can press the circle button to unequip the string connector from your imp. And there you have it. The cylinder and the bridge are connected. Click R3 to start time and check that it's working. Well, it looks a bit wobbly, but it's nothing Connie can't handle. Switch over to play mode and have a go.
Wonderful. I love to play with physics objects. I would love to make a level
When you can
out
get
of it.
Connie across the bridge to the second platform, return to edit mode and rewind time with L3.
It's a pity you can't see a connector.
Time to get Connie over to the third platform. So, the small pink platform and the blue step aren't much use to her right now. But if we make the platform move backwards and forwards, she can hop onto it and cross over. To do that, we'll need a connector called a piston. Go to the Assembly menu, then the Gadgets menu. You'll find the piston in the Connectors section. It's somewhere near the middle and looks like, well, a piston. Now that it's equipped on your imp, you can start connecting. First, press R2 or X to join it to the blue step, which is unmovable, so it's the parent object. I've put a yellow dot on it to show you the best place to connect it. Next, connect the blue end to the child object, which is the floating platform. See how grid snap keeps the connector perfectly straight? Hover over the blue dot, then press R2 or X. Remember, the child object is the part that needs to be able to move. So when you join a connector to its child, that object will automatically become movable. When you've placed the piston, press circle to unequip it. Click R3 to test the connector. That's more like it. The piston is now moving the platform back and forth. Rewind time with L3. Now Connie might not be too happy if we make her jump on that. So let's calm the piston down a bit. First, open the piston's tweak menu. Hover anywhere over it, hold L1 and press square. If the tweak menu blocks your view of the piston, you can grab it and move it with R2. This white gizmo shows the maximum length and speed of the piston. You can change the speed by adjusting the slider with the clock icon. That's the cycles per minute. Grab the slider by holding X over it with your imp and reduce the value. The further to the left you move, the faster the number will change. It doesn't need to be exact. Somewhere around 15 should do it. But if you want to get a more precise number, you can adjust the slider with the up and down directional buttons instead. Notice how it's slowed down now? Click R3 to see it moving the platform. When you're happy with the speed, close the tweak menu with the close button or use L1 and circle. Then rewind time with L3. Time to switch over to play mode and test out the scene so far. Make sure the platform isn't moving too fast for Connie to jump on. You can always go back to edit mode and tweak the piston until you're happy with it. Once Connie has made it all the way across, rewind time in edit mode and move on to the next step.
The only thing everything I see really lacks is something of an object list somewhere, because when you have a really complex scene, to find all those parenting and connections would be a little pain in the ass, because of how many of them are going to be there at once. So that's actually the only minus I found in Dreams for now. But let's continue.
Alright, there's just one more gap for Connie to cross. We have a plank and a step to attach it to. For the plank to drop down, we'll need it to pivot like a hinge, which means we'll need to use a bolt connector this time. Go into the connector section in the assembly menu. Select the icon with the nut on it. That's the bolt connector. Now you can connect it just like you did with the string and the piston. And because I'm so nice, I've placed some yellow and blue dots and a sneaky new purple one so that you can see where to make the connections.
Thanks.
They're quite close together this time, so move in closer for a good view. Remember, you can use the grab cam on the R1 button to zoom in close. As always, connect the parent object first, the yellow dot. Then you can connect the child object, the blue dot. The grid snap will keep the bolt in a straight line so you don't have to worry about it. Once it's all connected, you can unequip the bolt connector using the circle button. You've probably noticed that there's a purple gizmo halfway along the bolt. That's the pivot which the bolt rotates around. Click R3 to see how it all works. Well, that's not right. It looks like we'll need to reposition the pivot to get the plank moving correctly. Click
Wow,
L3
that's
to
some
rewind
complex
time
stuff.
and reset the plank. Now go ahead and grab the purple gizmo with R2. Move it so it's by the purple dot. While you're grabbing the pivot gizmo with R2, press triangle to align it to the grid. Now grab it with L2 and use the sticks to rotate it so its axis goes through the bottom of the plank. The grid snap guide will help you line it up exactly. The child object, in this case the plank, will rotate around that axis. Once it's all lined up, switch over to play mode to test it out. If you've done it correctly, the plank should balance upright. Connie will need to push the plank down, unless, of course, the plank
Wow.
isn't long enough. Oh well, switch back to edit mode and rewind time. We'll sort out the plank in the next step.
That's some mechanics we've got here. That's cool, really. You can make amazing stuff with it. I can already see. I can't stop being amazed by this game.
To make sure Connie can reach the last platform, we could always make the plank longer, but that's a completely different tutorial. Instead, let's try restricting the bolt's movement. We can do that by giving it an angle limit. First, you'll need to bring up the bolt's tweak menu. So hover over any part of the bolt, hold L1 and press square. You should see the Use Limits button about halfway down. Select it with X. And look at that. 3 handles have appeared. 2 pale yellow ones and a longer pale blue one. The yellow ones set the range of movement, which is represented by the transparent arc between them. We need to move one of these yellow handles so it's just a little bit left of vertical. It should look like an 11 o'clock position. Now move the other yellow handle to a 3 o'clock position. If your handle doesn't line up exactly, just press triangle while you're grabbing it. This will realign the handle to the grid. The blue handle represents the position of the child object, so you need to line it up with the plank in the 12 o'clock position. Press triangle to realign the handle to the grid if necessary. You can close the tweak menu now and head into play mode to test the scene. If everything's working correctly, Connie should be able to reach Cuthbert. And if you feel like experimenting, you can try out some other connector types. See what you can come up with. Then, when you're done editing the scene, go through the door in play mode to finish this tutorial.
Why do I have them from the different side? Maybe I rotate them in the wrong direction. So what's happening here? If I'm just I guess I'm doing the rotation in a wrong direction. So if no, it's totally right. There's no other way to turn it. And if we're doing restrictions, hey, restrictions. How do I make it at 3 o'clock? No? Right? Is it okay? Oh, fine. Finally. I guess they changed something while patching it and didn't change the tutorial. Or maybe it's me. Again, a win. So he says that there are a couple of other connectors I didn't check. So what do they do? That's ball joint. I guess that's for characters. That's bolt, motor bolt, exactly the same as bolt, but this one has power, so it will rotate automatically at the speed angle limits and so on that you set up in the tweak menu. That's great. And this one allows your connectors objects to rotate in all directions around the pivot gizmo, which is great for making joints like hips, twists, with wrists, shoulders, and necks and characters. Yeah, I know. Piston slider. Slider useful when you want to connect objects to slide toward and away from each other on a linear path, as if connected by a stiff rod, like a sliding door, for example. I see. And this one, elastic. Oh, I guess. Oh, that would be funny to see how this thing changes when we use elastic instead of string. Oh, I missed it again. So this one and this one. That's great. I just want to see the string actually. Connie doesn't really have any weight. Is there a way to see the string? Oh, so you can even change the type of the connector in the menu. Collide with connected. When on, the connected object can collide with each other. When off, they will simply pass through each other. Okay. So tightness, slack length, Yeah, no visibility option. That's a miss, I guess. Whoa. Let's go, 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 go. Oh! No, no, no. Again, I have to wait. I made it too slow. Okay, cardboard. Let's go to our magic elevator to another universe. And I say goodbye to you and thanks for watching. Oh, also, be a dreamer.